All right, all right, all right. It is the most dreaded time of the year. It is the most hard time of the year for me. Oh, man. I cannot stand Valentine's Day so very, 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 very much. I cannot stand it. I have always hated Valentine's Day. I have always hated Valentine's Day so much, so much. I have hated Valentine's Day since the 5th grade, or what was it, the 6th grade, when you weren't required, when you were no longer required to give a Valentine to people in your class. I hate it. 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 I hate it with a passion. I hate it with a passion. I cannot tell y'all how much I hate it. I hate Valentine's Day so much. But with all that said, because I cannot stand it so much, and I know the emotions and the feelings that it causes me to have, I try to be proactive. Just like I try to be proactive with all of my feelings. I try to react to what I feel like I'm going to be feeling during that time or during those times. Just any time when I know like I'm prone to an influx of emotion, I try to like negate it or redirect it in some shape, form, or fashion, some way, right? So, I try to make sure that I'm with people. I try to make sure that during that week I'm hanging out with a lot of people that don't have Valentines, that don't have dates. So I'll try to get a Valentine but most of the time, like, people are just so jaded and people just can't stand love so much, which is hard. Like, it's like, why don't you love love? Like, love has done a lot to a lot of people. Let's just be honest. But I try to be proactive on February 14th, like whatever it may be, whether it be taking someone out, showing someone that I care about them, or just hanging out with a group of people that don't have Valentines, or just giving or having like multiple Valentines. So, you know what I mean? So it's especially the ones that are like, I don't need there to be a date because, I only believe in Valentine's Day if I'm in a relationship with somebody. And I think that's stupid, but that's a whole nother thing. My point is I try to be proactive. And as a believer, because as a believer, we have no choice but to believe in love. Like, if we're going to believe, like, our faith is based on love. Our faith, I would even argue that our faith is one of the foundations. One of the foundations of our faith is love. Like, the very foundation of our faith is love. Like, where do you get forgiveness from? Like, I'm going to forgive you not because that's just what it is. Like, I forgive you because I love you and I want to be in right relationship with you because I love you. So shoot, we might as well just get into it. This is what we probably going to talk about today. How fitting. We're going to talk about love, and maybe we'll get into the Book of Ruth. Maybe we'll get into the Book of Ruth a little bit. So yeah, let's see what happens. I am so not sure, but I know that love is such a broad topic that we could talk about this the whole time. But we'll see what happens. Let's get into it. Hey y'all, what's going on? I just broke into it. I didn't even say hello. But yeah, let's do it.
The Side Effects Beats.
I'm already focused in case you ain't know. And you can do a thing to get to me. Nothing. Just know that you can see it coming. Believe it's still coming. The engine is running. And guess who's in the driver's seat? I'm already focused. Okay, so after much deliberation, or I don't know, much deliberation, but after deliberating, I decided to, just talk about the Book of Ruth. I am not prepared for Ruth. I am not prepared for the Book of Ruth. I'll be honest with you guys. it was something that it's one of the books that I want to do justice because it's only 4 chapters and like I could do it justice. There's nothing that it's not that I can't, but I don't know if I'm prepared, but we'll see what happens. I know enough about it, and who cares? Like, who cares if I don't know about it? We are reading through the Book of Ruth. I am not nobody's pastor. I'm not nobody's preacher. I just know a little bit, if anything at all, about the Bible. About some of these books. You can study these books the same way that I can. Like, in the same way that a preacher can. Or the same, like, it's available to people. Like, it's not something that, like, it's not like this, always this divine revelation of things. We're just going to go on on an adventure in the Book of Ruth, okay? All right, cool. I gotta take that pressure off myself, man. Take that pressure off, man. Let's just enjoy this read, all right? I'm on Wikipedia real quick and just breaking down the Book of Ruth. The Book of Ruth, it was written in Hebrew. The scroll of Ruth, Magaliath, Ruth. Okay, that's the Ashkenazi pronunciation. The scroll of Ruth, one of the 5. Oh man, you guys are just gonna have to tell me what this word is. My goodness.
5 Megillat.
5 Megillat is included in the 3rd division, or the writings. This is the Hebrew word I'm assuming for this. Ketuvim of the Hebrew Bible. In the Christian canon, it is created as a history book and placed between Judges and 1 Samuel. It is named after a central figure, Ruth the Moabitess, the great-grandmother of David. This is very important to note. I know this for sure. This is very important to note. Like, especially like when you see the lineage of David, it's very important. Not that all the other lineages and all the other genealogies, like, they're not important. They're very important. But David's genealogy is very, 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 very important because a very, 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 very important man came through that lineage and that genealogy, and his name is Jesus Christ. So it's good to see that it wasn't just this, like, Jesus didn't pop up out of nowhere. It was like this divine thing that was happening all throughout. The book tells of Ruth's accepting the God of the Israelites as her God and the Israelite people as her own. In Ruth 1:16 and 17, Ruth tells Naomi, her Israelite mother-in-law, "Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it very so severely, if even death separates you and me." These are strong words. The book is held in esteem by Jews who fall under the category of Jews by choice, as is evidenced by the considerable presence of Boaz in rabbinic literature. The Book of Ruth also functions liturgically as it is read during the Jewish holiday of, Shavuot, which means weeks. The book is traditionally ascribed to the prophet Samuel, but does not name its author. A date during the monarchy prior to 586 BC is suggested by the book's interest in the ancestry of David. But Ruth's identity as a non-Israelite and the stress on the need for an inclusive attitude towards foreigners suggests an origin in the 5th century BC, where intermarriage had become controversial, as seen in Ezra 9:1 and Nehemiah 13:1. So this book is very important, and this book is very, very, very important. It's even more important than what people originally would think, where it talks about literally intermarriage between Jew and non-Jew, a Jew by choice, a Jew and a non-Jew, like so interracial marriages and like, you know, how a lot of people, they'll say, oh, well, if you're not this, you cannot be a part of this, and if you're not this ethnicity, then you shouldn't be with this ethnicity. If you're not a part of this culture, then you shouldn't be a part of this culture. Listen, people, understand this. Even like you see God all throughout the scriptures, where there are literally things inside of scripture that you see Jesus even like way before you see Jesus. You see him way before you see him. So, and you see him all throughout the scriptures. All the scriptures talk about Jesus. Point blank period. Whether they say his name or not, it literally alludes to the person of Jesus. Take for example, we talked about Jonah the last time that we were podcasting. We talked about Jonah and how Jonah was in the belly of the beast for 3 days. Jesus literally said that no sign, there won't be any more signs other than this one, and it will be just as the prophet Jonah, I'm paraphrasing, the prophet Jonah being in the belly of the beast for 3 days, so the Son of Man will be in the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. Like, that's just one example of many where God was still establishing and trying to introduce Jesus to the world way before he even came. And so, you know, and how the scriptures talk about how this faith that we have is not just for the Jew anymore. It's not just for the Jew, but it's for the Gentile also. So if you're not a Jew, you would be a Gentile. For those that don't know, if you're not Jewish, then you are a Gentile, but it can be for you as well. And so so I really don't, and not to bash anybody, but I really do not understand, I do not understand the Hebrew Israelite religion and their belief when it's so very clear. It's so very, sure, they're basically black Jews, or at least the skin complexion is why I'm calling them black Jews. If they say that they're the original Jews, I'm okay with that. That's fine. But here is the thing: when you're saying that people cannot be a part of something because they weren't born into it, that's literally anti-Christ. And we'll see here in the Book of Ruth. And I'm talking about Ruth today, not to try to debunk any religion or anything like that, but just to show. Because, you know, it's February, and this is a love story. Some would say that this is a love story. So yeah, here we go, the Book of Ruth. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. And a man of Bethlehem in Judah went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife, Naomi. And the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Aphrodites from Bethlehem in Judah. They went into the country of Moab and remained there. But Elimelech, the husband of Naomi, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. These took Moabite wives. All right, let's pause. Let me read this. These took Moabite wives. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. They lived there about 10 years. So time out. So when they took Moabite wives, they took them after their father had died. So number one, you taking a foreign wife in that time was a no, a big no. No. You do not take a Moabite wife when you are from Bethlehem in Judah. If you're from Judah, you are an Ephrathite. They were Ephratites. They were Ephratites or whatever they were. They were Jews. They were Jews from Judah, from Bethlehem in Judah. They took Moabite wives. But check this. They only took these Moabite wives because their father had passed. They knew that if their dad was alive, he wasn't having it. You're not taking Moabite wives if your dad is alive. So let's and in that time and all of that type of stuff. They took Moabite wives. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. They lived there about 10 years. And both Mahlon and Chilion died. So they died too. So that the woman was left without her 2 sons and her husband. So Naomi was now a widow, and she lost her 2 boys. She childless and husbandless. So to be childless and husbandless, like in your sons, you had 2 sons, not 1 but 2 sons. You had not 1 but 2 sons. Your son was supposed to take care of you. Your son was supposed to take care of you. But you lost not 1 son, but you lost 2 sons, and you lost your husband as well. When in those times when you didn't have a husband, it was like basically you were no good to the world until you had a husband. Anybody could basically do whatever they wanted to you if you didn't have a husband. Your husband was literally your protection. So Naomi was out here in these streets without a husband and without a son. It wasn't good for Naomi. But she still had 2 daughters-in-law, which was like basically good for nothing. Or so it seems. And please don't get upset at me. I'm talking about in this time and the way that they thought in this time. We'll continue. But Naomi said, okay, let me back up. Where we at? Okay. Verse 5. And both Mahlon and Chilion died, so that the woman was left without her 2 sons and her husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law to return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the fields of Moab that the Lord has visited his people and given them food. So the Lord had visited his people and given them food. So she set out from the place where she was with her 2 daughters-in-law. And they went on the way to return to the land of Judah. But Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each of you to her mother's house. May the Lord deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me. So, let me finish reading. The Lord grant that you may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices and wept. And they said to her, No, we will return with you to your people. But Naomi said, Turn back, my daughters. Wait, let me pause here because Naomi get type smart right here. So we're going to pause right here. So for them to return back to their places, like return back to your places. So if a husband died, the wife would go back to her family, would go back to her father's house so that she could be protected, because literally back in those times, you weren't protected if you ain't have no husband and you were a woman. It was bad out there for you. People could do whichever they wanted to you, basically. And I'm not gonna say like it was like total anarchy if you didn't have a husband, but I'm saying that you had very little rights and women were seen as property, and especially like in a lot of these religions today, you still kind of see that women are viewed as property. And so it's kind of crazy in scripture, like when people say, oh, well, the Bible doesn't have love for women and the Bible is this. I'm like, please see with a different set of lenses. Please see with a different set of lenses. God was dealing with these people in regard to that throughout the scriptures. Men had their roles, but women had their roles as well. And y'all gotta forgive me because I'm outside of this place and it's super noisy. I'm right by this restaurant or whatever. But yeah, so they definitely didn't have as much rights as men. You know what I mean? And so and you're women, like you delicate creatures. Like women can attest to that. Like, look, I know that I would need somebody to help me. I would need somebody to help protect me. Especially back in those days when y'all had basically no laws pertaining to you. It was hard to say the least. The Lord grant that you may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices and wept. And they said to her, No, we will return with you to your people. But Naomi said, Turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Here's where she gets smart. I don't really appreciate this. If I was one of her daughters, I wouldn't necessarily appreciate this. Have I yet sons in my womb, that they may become your husbands? Turn back, my daughters. Go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, even if I should have a husband this night, should have a husband this night, and should bear sons, would you therefore wait till they were grown? Would you therefore refrain from marrying? No, my daughters, for it is exceedingly bitter to me for your sake that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me. Then they lifted up their voices and wept again. So understand that Naomi left where she was and probably left with her husband. So she left the place where she was, but was returning back to her place. Because she found out that God was blessing where she had come from. God was blessing her hometown, giving her hometown food and all of that type of stuff. So she came to her senses and was like, I don't have a husband. I don't have any two sons. I just got these two daughters-in-law, which is basically like, you know what I mean? So let me go back to the place of my childhood, of where I was raised, so that God could bless me as well as he's blessing this city. No, my daughters, for his city. Okay, I read all that. So yeah, reading this last sentence for emphasis. So my daughters, for it is exceedingly bitter to me for your sake that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me. Then they lifted up their voices and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. And she said, See, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law. Ruth says the amazing thing. But Ruth said, Do not urge me to leave you or to return from following you. For where you go, I will go. And where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there will I be buried. May the Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts me from you. And when Naomi saw that she was determined to go with her, she said no more. So this is a daughter-in-law without any other reason to be with her mother-in-law. Like her son, and Ruth is young enough to remarry. Ruth is young enough, spry enough to remarry, but she's like, bump all of that. Naomi, who's to say that her and Naomi didn't have like a really, really special relationship? One can assume, rightfully so, possibly, that they had a special relationship. To say, where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people. My God, your God will be my God. Like, she's like, return to your gods. She's like, nah, man. I'm sticking it out with you. God was up to something. Verse 19. So the two of them went on until they came to Bethlehem. And when they came to Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the woman said, Is this Naomi? She said to them, Do not call me Naomi. Call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. I went away full, and the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi when the Lord has testified against me and the Almighty has brought calamity upon me? So understand this. Naomi meant pleasant. And so she's saying, I'm not pleasant, I'm bitter. Because I don't have any sons. I don't have a husband. I don't have a place to stay. You see, I'm back here. I'm back in my hometown. You know, a lot of people, they might count that as a failure. You going back to your own hometown. And Mara meant bitter. Mara meant bitter. She said, don't call me Naomi. Like, don't call me pleasant. Call me Mara, call me bitter, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. I went away full, and the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi when the Lord has testified against me and the Almighty has brought calamity upon me? Here's what Naomi didn't understand at this time, but we have hindsight because we're centuries and centuries and centuries past this, that God loves to work, and this is, I didn't have any of this prepared. God loves to work. God can't work if you full of yourself. He can't work in you if you full of yourself. Like, let's look up the scripture. For the sacrifices of God are a broken spirit and a contrite heart. Like, I went away full and the Lord has brought me back empty. Like, you're at the point where God can literally use you. Like, where God can literally do something in you because you're not full of yourself anymore. You're empty. You've been emptied. You've been humbled. Now he can work in you. And sometimes God will cause things to happen in your life that will cause you to say, look, I need a savior. Like, look, I need to turn to God. I can't do anything without God. I can't do anything without him. If there's nothing that's happening that he hasn't ordained, I know that my life would be much better if I had him. So let me return back to him, empty of myself. That was revelation right there. So we'll keep going. I went away full. Verse 21. I went away full, and the Lord has brought me back. But she's neglecting the fact that the Lord has brought her back. He's brought her back into his presence, back where she belongs. This is still about love. You can see the love clearly right there. Why call me Naomi? Why call me pleasant? Like, I'm not pleasant. Why call me Naomi when the Lord has testified against me? Or so she thinks. And the Almighty has brought calamity upon me. So in many times in scripture, God brings calamity, or so it seems. He brings calamity to people to cause them to turn back to him. Just like he did for the prodigal son, just like he did for Jonah, just like he did for the prophet, for Jerusalem when Nehemiah did whatever he did. Like, countless times, I'm sure you could count them, many times in the Bible, God brings calamity to cause people to turn back to him. So if you're going through something and you're super frustrated, like, check your relationship. Like, God God loves you and he's calling you to him. Turn to him so that he can love you, and so he can love on you the way that he wants to love on you, because he already loves you. Like, it's not like turn so that I can love you. It's turn so I could show the love that I have for you. So we keep reading. Calamity isn't really calamity when God is involved in it. It's only calamity if you don't turn. It's only calamity if you bump God. Like, I see you doing what you doing, God, and bump you, man. I don't want this love you got. And God is so patient, he'll even still deal with you in that moment, still wanting you to come to him, wanting you to come to him, pressing on you ever the more for you to turn to him. It gets better. Verse 22. So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, so it keeps calling Ruth the Moabite. Like, remember, she's not a part of this. She has no place in this. Like, she has no part in this. So, like, she shouldn't be blessed by God because of her. She's not a part of it. Like, she's not with us. She's not of this blood that we have. So they call her a Moabite for a reason, to remind you of this. So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law with her, who returned from the country of Moab. And they came to Bethlehem at the beginning of barley harvest. That, I'm sure that has some significance. Don't know what it is just yet. But let's keep this in mind. Naomi told us, and Naomi told the people to stop calling her Naomi. Stop calling her pleasant. Stop calling her that. Call her Mara, call her bitter. But as you can see, that is the only time that Mara is mentioned in this story. Nobody's calling her Mara. Everybody's gonna call her Naomi. And here's why. Even she's probably calling herself Mara. She's probably calling herself bitter. But thanks be to God that God doesn't see us the way that we see ourselves sometimes. Thank God for that. First, chapter 2. Ruth meets Boaz. Boaz is very significant. Verse 1. Chapter 2, verse 1. Now Naomi had a relative of her husband's. Naomi had a relative of her husband's, a worthy man of the clan of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. And Ruth, the Moabite, said to Naomi, "Let me go to the field and glean among the ears of grain after him, in whose sight I shall find favor." And Ruth, reading again for emphasis, verse 2. And Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, "Let me go to the field and glean among the ears of grain after him, in whose sight I shall find favor." And she said to her, "Go, my daughter." So she set out and went and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And she happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz, who was of the clan of Elimelech. This is very important. He was a part of Naomi's family, of her husband's family even. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem. Bethlehem is a very important place. Guess who was born in Bethlehem? Oh, little town of Bethlehem. I don't know the words, but Jesus was born in a manger in Bethlehem, so that the scriptures could be fulfilled. Okay. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem, and he said to the reapers, "The Lord be with you." And they answered, "The Lord bless you." Then Boaz said to his young man who was in charge of the reapers, "Whose young woman is this?" And the servant who was in charge of the reapers answered, "She is the young Moabite woman who came back with Naomi from the country of Moab." She said, "Please let me glean and gather among the sheaves after the reapers." So she came, and she has continued from early morning until now, except for a short rest. So let's read this again. "Whose young woman is this?" And the servant who was in charge of the reapers answered, "She is the young Moabite woman who came back with Naomi from the country of Moab." She said, "Please let me glean and gather among the sheaves after the reapers." So she came, and she has continued from early morning until now, except for a short rest. So Naomi was in the field, was in Boaz's field, trying to get close to this man, because all right, cool. He's your cousin. Let's say he's your cousin, Naomi, trying to be a part of this family, trying to redeem this family. Because, to stay within the same space as Naomi. So I'm not going to go marry somebody outside of Naomi's family, because then I would have to follow his God. I would have to follow his thing, and even my husband, even to that point, say maybe she was even still being subject to her husband even in his death, which is mad honorable. That's just a theory, not something that I'm sure of, but maybe let's consider that. But Naomi, I'm going to be so loyal to you that any man, I am young and I still am able to marry. We're going to redeem this whole family by me marrying somebody within your family. So let me do what I got to do. Let me not press up upon this woman, upon this man. Let me still be a woman. Let me still be nice, but let me put myself in position. Let me still avail myself. Let me make myself available. Let me make myself known to him. And let me work too. Like, let me be diligent in what I'm doing. I ain't no slouch. I ain't no, you know what I mean? I'm doing stuff out here. I'm working in these fields. I'll take a break, but it ain't gonna be a long break. I'm a worker out here in these streets. I'm a Proverbs 31 before there was ever a Proverbs 31. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let's continue. Then Boaz said to Ruth, "Now listen, my daughter. Do not go to glean in another field or leave this one, but keep close, my young woman. Keep close. Let your eyes be on the field that they are reaping and go after them. Have I not charged the young men not to touch you? And when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink what the young men have drawn." Then she fell on her face, bowing to the ground, and said to him, "Why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner?" But Boaz answered her, "All that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told to me, and how you left your father and mother in your native land and came to a people that you did not know before. The Lord repay you for what you have done, and a full reward be given you by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." So, this is so awesome. So he's saying, like, I see you out here, and I'm going to your reputation precedes you. Your reputation precedes you. I heard about these things that you've been doing for your mother-in-law. I heard about them. So I'll tell you what. Don't go to another field to reap nothing else. You stay in this field, you stay in my field, and you reap. If you see something there's to be reaped, you go on and reap it. Whatever it is, you go ahead, you go right along and you reap it. And any water that they draw, you go and you drink from that water if you thirsty. Any water that they get, you can have it. And you protected. I told these men that they not to lay a hand on you, so you can reap all that you need to reap, all like without any fear of anything happening to you. I got you, basically is what he's saying. I got you because your reputation precedes you, and may the Lord bless you because of it. Like she had no clue that he was gonna bless her because of that. You know what I mean? Because of what she just did it. You know what I mean? Like, so some people, they do expecting to get, which why they don't get nothing, because it's not out of a kind heart. It's not out of a pure heart. They do it expecting to get something. But if you do stuff not expecting to get anything, you just do it because that's just who you are. Expect many blessings, but then it's like, don't really, but expect them just because you're doing it from a pure heart. I don't know if we're going to get through this. We're almost 40 minutes in. The Lord repay you for what you have done, and a full reward be given you by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. Then she said, "I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, for you have comforted me and spoken kindly to your servant, though I am not one of your servants." And at mealtime Boaz said to her, "Come here and eat some bread, and dip your morsel in the wine." So she sat beside the reapers, and he passed to her roasted grain, and she ate until she was satisfied, and she had some left over. When she rose to glean, Boaz instructed his young men, saying, "Let her glean even among the sheaves, and do not reproach her. And also pull out some of the bundles for her, and leave it for her to glean, and do not rebuke her." So she gleaned in the field until evening. Then she beat out what she had gleaned. Now, apparently this is some type of like thing. Like, I don't know what glean means and and all of that stuff. Apparently it's something real beneficial. It looks like grain, like she's getting grain basically. And she's getting grain and grain was very important, especially in those days. Y'all know all that you can make with grain, oatmeal, bread, all types of stuff. Then she beat out what she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah, and it was about an ephah of barley. So it's barley. Maybe she was making beer or something. I don't know, man. And she took it up and went into the city. Her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned, And back up, Boaz was still protecting her that whole time. He was saying, man, basically, man, whatever you got it, bro. You got it, kid. She also brought out and gave her what food she had left over after being satisfied. And her mother-in-law said to her, where did you glean today? And where have you worked? Blessed be the man. Blessed be the man who took notice of you. So she told her mother-in-law with whom she had worked and said, the man's name with whom I work today is Boaz. And Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, may he be blessed by the Lord, whose kindness has not forsaken the living or the dead. Naomi also said to her, the man is a close relative of ours, one of our redeemers, one of our redeemers. This is important. One of our redeemers. And Ruth the Moabite said, besides, he said to me, you shall keep close by my young men until they have finished all my harvest. And Naomi said to Ruth, her daughter-in-law, it is good, my daughter, that you go out with this young woman, lest in another field you be assaulted. And Naomi said to Ruth, her daughter-in-law, it is good, my daughter, that you go out with his young women, lest in another field you be assaulted. So she kept close to the young women of Boaz, gleaning until the end of the barley and wheat harvest, and she lived with her mother-in-law. God is still showing himself strong, and they have no clue. They have no clue. But understand this, there is a phrase called kinsman redeemer. Kinsman redeemer. Boaz was one of the redeemers. Boaz was one of the kinsman redeemers. What's a kinsman redeemer? Someone who can bring you back into right standing with the family. Woo! Woo! Getting kind of happy. Okay, what is a kinsman redeemer? Here's the answer. The kinsman redeemer is a male relative who, according to various laws of the Pentateuch, had the privilege or responsibility to act on behalf of a relative who was in trouble, in danger, or in need. The Hebrew term for kinsman redeemer designates one who delivers or rescues or redeems property or a person. The kinsman redeemer who redeems or vindicates a relative is illustrated most clearly in the Book of Ruth, as we're reading, where the kinsman redeemer is Boaz. God was doing his thing all throughout this scripture. God was moving. God was making moves, whether they knew it or not. God was making moves. In some ways they knew it, in some ways they didn't know it. So you go to a field, you find out it's this dude named Boaz. You find out from your mother-in-law that he's one of our family members. Stay in that field and don't do nothing crazy. Stay with these women that stay with Boaz's women, so that you won't be assaulted or whatever, because these men is ruthless out here. As I told y'all in the beginning, there is a kinsman redeemer, and Boaz is Boaz is a Jesus type. Boaz is a Jesus type, where Jesus is our redeemer. We'll talk about that later. Jesus is our redeemer, restoring us back to right standing. We were in trouble. We were in danger. We were in need. But Jesus, there is a redeemer. Jesus, God's own son. He redeemed us. And we'll pause. We will pause. I'm excited. I am very excited. I'm excited. You might need to do two parts. You know what? We will do 2 parts. Tune in tomorrow. I don't know. Tune in another time, because we'll just, I don't want to over flood y'all with like all this stuff, man. I'm gonna keep recording this podcast, but y'all get the other half tomorrow. Man, just listen to it at your leisure, but it's a lot, so we'll get to it. See y'all soon, man. When is Valentine's Day is Tuesday. Okay, cool, yeah. So I have one on Tuesday, too. One on Monday, one on Tuesday. Awesome, great. Peace out, y'all. Be blessed. This episode has been brought to you by the good people at FreshAirLife.com. That's fresh, HEIR, life.com. What's your domain?